given my own take, why people should consider Bitcoin, and particularly moving away from this 0% allocation of Bitcoin is indeed the most essential asset to have and own, precisely because government issued currencies are consistently being devalued through inflation and monetary policies. That while some countries have a relatively stable financial system, 90% of the world's population still deals with currencies that lose 15% or even more of their value annually. Bitcoin, with its absolute scarcity, offers indeed that protection against this currency debasement and devaluation. Initially, as with many of us who were very doubtful, we were skeptical at first and then quickly dismissed the idea of Bitcoin at that moment in time, assuming it was another passing trend. But over time, we observed that Bitcoin's resilience through multiple market cycles, and ultimately spent years studying its monetary network, eventually realized that Bitcoin was more than just digital gold. It was a completely new form of money with no historical precedent. Explained the notion of we're coming towards the end of this typical 4-year Bitcoin market cycles, which coincides with a 4-year halving process. Now he believes that Bitcoin's traditional 4-year cycles may be coming to an end. There's various reasons that could explain why. The first is to do with nation states, and large institutions are now coming onto the fold and adopting Bitcoin in their own treasuries. We also have Trump coming into the office, which is the first US president, is backing Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. We have never seen that in its entirety. So that in itself is quite an important trigger that will break this 4-year market cycle of Bitcoin. And there's other reasons there, right? We have debanked populations around the world who have it difficult to actually acquire the leading fiat currency like the US dollar to conduct their day-to-day commerce. Well, Bitcoin can certainly help those unbanked and debanked parts of the world. And also we have sovereign wealth funds are making allocations into Bitcoin. We have private pensions funds as well doing the same thing. And there's a whole heap of reasons why we feel that the 4-year market cycle is coming to an end. And also there's an interesting notion about, for me, what would be the end game for Bitcoin is when Bitcoin is certainly enshrined or embedded into the mainstream. And I think for me, that would have to mean where we would see Bitcoin provided as a component feature of any financial product in order to allow the Bitcoin holders to not relinquish their coins in order to make additional premium. So think of the idea of Bitcoin backed bonds or even loan products that have the Bitcoin component bolted on. And the idea is to actually provide a much higher rate of return rather than not including Bitcoin as a component feature in those financial products. So for me, when that happens, that is certainly going to set the balls rolling and will certainly 1000x, in my view, on the value of Bitcoin in the years to come. So this is one of the reasons that we are indeed coming to the end of this 4-year market cycle for Bitcoin. He went on to explain advocates for a long-term Bitcoin investment approach, which is indeed how I am doing for my own Bitcoin holdings myself. It's not a speculative asset. It's not something you can day trade in order to reap some gains in the short term. This is a long-term wealth generator asset that we've never seen before. He warns against trying to time the market, explaining that short-term traders often lose out due to taxes and emotional decision making. Instead, that simply accumulating Bitcoin and holding it for an extended period of time is indeed the best strategy for maximizing returns. Another point about the notion of borrowing against Bitcoin. Now, there was a recent repeal in the United States of the famous SAB 121. Now, what does this SAB 121 actually means? It means it would remove the requirement and open the door for traditional financial institutions, mainly banks, to act as custodians of digital assets without the added balance sheet complexity and cost. Now, I think this is absolutely important because this would mean that banks worldwide are now better positioned more than ever before to custody Bitcoin for their customers, which will lead to Bitcoin becoming the ultimate form of collateral. Within 5 years, Banks will certainly offer better interest rates for Bitcoin-backed loans than for traditional real estate-backed loans. This is very interesting. Another additional benefit that Bitcoin can provide, an unprecedented level of financial mobility. Unlike traditional assets such as real estate, which are difficult to move across borders, Bitcoin can be easily transported globally without interference. Now, this makes it a much powerful tool for foreign sovereignty. Just step back and think about what I just said there. Can you imagine yourself ever moving bars of gold between countries? It's very difficult. You'll fall foul or the potential risk of confiscation of those bars of gold or even coins when you particularly go through customs and airport security. And this is one of the fascinating features that I believe and find with Bitcoin. It provides that kind of freedom of movement of assets cross borders. The notion of Bitcoin allocation, and I have actually alluded to this earlier on, suggests that investors should now allocate as much Bitcoin as they can comfortably hold long term. Bitcoin's growth potential still far exceeds that of traditional investments. Rather than focusing on short-term price movements, investors should view Bitcoin as a multi-decade asset class. And that is the actual last point that I want to leave you today. With everything that's been said in the above, it's becoming clear that the Bitcoin is more than ever before has very bright future indeed. And I just want to leave with this thought that, this is the start of another bull run in my own personal opinion. This is the financial revolution of our lifetime. We have never seen something like this. And I would encourage investors out there who haven't got any exposure to Bitcoin to now start beginning to allocate parts of its wealth that they're comfortable to invest and hold on to the long term. Bitcoin is becoming indeed that ultimate store of value, the best collateral in history, and institutions are jumping in at record levels. If you want to stay ahead of this massive shift, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Like this video if you believe Bitcoin's future and share it with your friends, family and colleagues. And now I want to hear from you. Will Bitcoin 100x in the next 10 years? Drop your thoughts in the comment sections below. So I'll see you next time.